Hello friends, July the 2nd. Welcome back. Yes, I've been away for quite a while. I was on the road and very busy, and then I had a cold which I just about come out of now, so yeah, that's why it took a little longer than I wanted to. Anyway, today Neptune turned retrograde. This is super powerful day. We are in actually the whole week. For 7 days almost, Neptune is standing still within less than 1 minute of arc. When a planet stands still, then its power is multiplied. It's in a meditative mode, and it emanates its energy at a very, very profound level, resetting the pace, reorienting itself in a new direction. And that is what Neptune is doing in the very final minutes of the sign Pisces. Since 2011, Neptune has been in Pisces and is now at the very end of the sign, having accumulated all its insights, understandings, complexities of the sign Pisces, and now is at the culmination point, almost ready to get into the new energy of Aries to restart a whole new 165-year cycle. And there it is, turning backwards once more, going back into Pisces. This is super powerful. We all can definitely feel that it is a time of incubation, of laying the foundations for some big new directions to move into, plans, ideas, insights, revelations, dreams coming into our visions, into our perception. It is all of that. So really pay attention what is manifesting in this window. And it is actually really super special because Saturn was the trailblazer, turning retrograde just 5 days ago, actually 4 days ago, on the 29th of June. So they're pretty much in sync, and you see also the midpoint of the two planets is here at the global descendant. So we really are in the process of integrating these two energies, which is basically nailing down the Neptunian energy. That is what Saturn is here for, to bring it into form, to pull off its cloaking mechanisms, its cloaking cap. That Neptune is very good at not truly fully showing itself, working from the background. Saturn is helping to bring all this in clarity and perspective into a framework. And Saturn is conjunct Nessus. So it is the integration of a very powerful shadow energy which is happening as we speak. Neptune actually is opposed by the black moon. Now this is very, very special. The black moon, that is the place where the moon is farthest from Earth. That's the shadow point, the collective shadow point in that sense. It is kind of, you see something flying away ever farther from us and the moon in that sense spoken. And there comes the moment when you start having that impression, oh, it will go ever farther away. So it's kind of that almost fear. We're losing something, we're losing the moon, it's venturing out into the cosmos, and then comes the turning point. We reach the bottom of the valley. So it is an emotionally charged place, and the moon is the moon is a super important. Let's just first go to the moon, and I have this little clip for you which shows you the moon's orbit. Here I just play this for a few seconds. I show you this is the moon naturally orbiting Earth, and here it is at its closest, and then 14 days later or so it reaches its farthest. Now watch out. This is a great graphic I found. So you see the orbit of the moon itself is now rotating, and that is the real special thing about the moon, that it is the only celestial object we have which is changing in its orbital axis constantly. All the others are fixed. That means they have a place where they're closest to the sun, and therefore Earth as well, if you're looking at the big planets, the outer planets, and farthest away from the sun on the other side of the. So this is a fixed axis for all planets except for the moon. So this is really, really special. That's why this wandering point, it takes 9 years to go all through the zodiac. You see, I play it for you here. It just should show the moon kind of racing here around while we are showing this. Okay, this is about as much as I wanted to show from this clip, giving you the idea. Now I put here a little more information together for you to really understand what I'm talking about here. So this is a diagram I wanted to, for my own clarification, put this down onto paper to really see it three-dimensional almost. So the green, you see, this is the time axis. This was done in 2012. It doesn't really matter because it's a pattern which constantly repeats itself. So anyway, October 12, February 13, June 13, October 13, you see this is a period of roughly 3 years, actually exactly 3 years. So over 3 years time, the green dots here, every month you have a green dot, that is where the moon is respective to the closest spot towards Earth at its perigee. That is when it's really moving fast. And you see this this line here of these consequence positions where the moon is when it's closest to Earth. They move here in a line gently meandering around this main black line, which is the mean black moon, the one I am using, which is moving at a regular pace through the zodiac every 9 months in a new sign, giving a new theme. So we just entered the sign of Libra in that sense, the black moon. Let me see. Here it is. That was its Libra ingress. Here you have it. That median line around which the moon makes its dance, in a way you could say. Let's go back to this graph because it really shows a lot. There's lots of information hidden in it, and you will really understand the power of this point as it moves through space. So that is the wind blowing. Let me just close the window here. Okay. So now the red line, this is where the moon is when it's farthest from Earth. And you see this is much, actually, sorry, I'm saying it wrong. This is where it's closest to Earth. That is much more wildly moving. So I was wrong. The green dots are where the moon every month is when it's at its farthest from Earth. And naturally when it's farther away, then it's kind of moving less around this axis, and when it's closer to us, naturally everything is amplified and magnified, so that motion is much bigger. Now I want really to show you why I'm using the center point, that median line. This is from the RIAL program, which allows to calculate so the moon's oscillating lunar apogee. That is what we are seeing here. This is the mean. So you see the mean moves very, very regularly straight for over a period of a month here, which we see from 2650 to 0 degrees. So it's roughly 3 degrees and 20 minutes per average per month. However, the oscillating, now this is the place where the moon is closest to Earth. Potentially, it's I mean, you see the orbit is kind of a ghost line, you can say, through space. It's not really that the moon has to be in these locations exactly. That only happens once every month. That's why this green and red spots are so important on this line. Let's go back here again. So you see, this is a wild motion over 40 degrees zodiacal longitude. It can go, see, just let's pull this a bit to the side and you see what I mean. This, okay, June 1st, 16 degrees Libra. Then within, let's find the extremes here. So within June 23rd, so this is, you see, 3 weeks time. In 3 weeks time, the oscillating lunar perigee, where the moon potentially would be closest to Earth, moves for almost the sign, for 26 degrees. Then this is a big arc, this is a fast motion. So this is this red line. And now you see, maybe you have been thinking of that already. This looks like the DNA strand, very similar. So the pencil line here, this is the daily plot in a way. That is when I plot all these different points. You see it, and then naturally, when the red point is here marked, this is when the moon actually will be in this position. And then a month later in this. Anyway, the long story short, it shows you how much sense it makes to use that center line, because this is really the 0 point of that motion the lunar orbit has, that wobble, you could say. So anyway, I really wanted to illustrate this because it is super important to understand that it is the most important position of the lunar apogee perigee, which naturally always are 180 degrees apart. So in other words, the midpoint of where the moon is closest to Earth at this present time is at 0 Aries. It's a whole new beginning of shadow integration that is going on, and it is a great I mean, it has been really powerful times we're in. Let me roll back a little bit, because it really builds the story and you understand how the universe works. I mean, I had lots of time to really sit, and I had planned to record for a while. There's so many things I have been thinking about, speaking about. Anyway, I kind of narrowed it in to one particular storyline. And it started with all the extreme solar flares we had And this was the peak point. You remember, I mean, you can go back to the archive. There were X-class flares every day in May, pretty much the first part of May at least. It was an extreme build-up of energy. And then on the 11th, 12th of May, we had this enormously powerful solar storm, geomagnetic storm. They called it an extreme storm. It hasn't been as intense for, I guess, more than 2.5 decades. In early 2000s, around 2003 was the last really strong one, but this one was even more powerful than that one in 2003. As you know, it produced auroras, into the subtropical regions in Hawaii, in Costa Rica. They could see vivid colors in the sky. I was myself, I had to imagine it or see all the beautiful pictures you had posted, because here we had a smoke from fires, from forest fires probably were blown our way. So that was definitely not helping, but I imagined it, and I saw all the wonderful posts about it. Now, what is special about this is that here at the very tail end of this very intense phase, there was this one alignment which stood out. It was the kind of most powerful alignment in that whole window of time, which was the lunar north node exactly lining up with Hygeia. Hygeia or Hygeia, I never exactly know how to pronounce it. She is an asteroid who's linked to health, well-being and serendipity. Naturally, all the things we need on this planet. The asteroids, they give us the roles to play in this world. And this is the link between inner planets and outer planets. That is the whole asteroid belt. And Hygeia is the fourth largest of these asteroids. There's around 20,000 in total so far charted. But there are a few which are standing out. Hygeia is the fourth largest one. Demetra George wrote a book on the main asteroids, a really important book if you are interested in getting deeper. Asteroid goddesses, she called them. And they are feminine energies. Yes, they are bridging the gap from inner to outer planets. It is kind of the center of the scale, if you want to say, between the inner and the outer world, and it gives us the roles we are meant to integrate, the personal inner planets, who we are, and how to integrate and connect them with the larger universe, the collective theme, how we interact, how we are actually able to exactly directed what we want to impact at. This is kind of the energy which was activated, and a very powerful place in the zodiac, in the 16th degree of Aries, right as we get into the second half, at the culmination point of the sign Aries, which is all about new beginnings and new creation, with Mars in here too. And I mean, I could go on and on. Also Mercury, you see this huge stellium in Aries we had at the time. So the 16th degree of Aries, just bear with me, it's really worth reading the oracle of that degree again from the sapient symbols. And nature spirits are seen at work in the light of sunset. And this is the second part of Aries. The first is about desire. I really like that idea, that to understand that first part of the sign Aries as the time when we build up the desire, when we have we come from the sign of Aries, of Pisces naturally, that always the ending of a whole big cycle, having the inception, the idea, the vision, and then as we enter the sign Aries, now we are creating a desire out of that vision, how and get the understanding of how to implement, but we're still in the process of the getting ready phase. And then culmination point 1500, potency. Now we bring in the power. Now we are rolling in the engine, and it is really what we are experiencing in our present times. That's my observation. It's like a huge freight train has just started to start moving. Really, it has been standing still, and naturally, you can imagine, let's say, a 2-mile long freight train with several locomotives. This takes time to build momentum. The first few inches might take ages, and then it builds up. But at this, the power we have, we have awoken with I would say with April the 8th solar eclipse. The sacred masculine has woken up in the year of the dragon, wood dragon. It's all about creative ideas of how to implement. And here comes Hygiea in. I mean, this was a powerful, powerful charge, and you see immediately where I'm going. Are you seeing this? 2956, that's exactly the degree Neptune is at for a full week now, between June the 28th and July the 7th, centering around the 2nd of July today naturally. In this whole 8-day stretch, the moon is, Neptune is exactly at 2956. You can't make that stuff up. That's why I say this is really the time to perceive that dream, to download it, to bring it into your reality. Particularly so as this is the culmination period also in a big cycle of the Mayan calendar. We are today on the 2nd of July. We are here on the 8th day of this final 13-day leg of Lammat, Venus star. This is the 13 days of perfection, of reaching up to absolute perfection and closing every storyline, bringing everything full circle to start a whole new period with the activation of the light. Actually, this is from my 25-year-old website almost, where I first was fascinated. I have lost really updating this site. I keep saying this, you probably know that already, but this is where we are getting into the generation of the light of a whole new 260-day cycle, and we are just finishing the green central castle, the renewal of the light, which was a time of integration, which has been on since May the 17th, interestingly. That was just a few days prior to this to the shift into the green central castle, actually at really the culmination point, which is the, let me just go back to it so you see, this was the yellow southern castle we were in still when that whole big solar exploit really I mean, I could literally feel it. You will remember this was a really once in a lifetime experience, how much energy was pushed into our reality with all these extreme flares. Yes, go back to the recordings, you will see it's just unbelievable what was charged up truly in the nature of the yellow southern castle. Naturally, the expansion of the light. You were given abundant life energy. Yes, definitely you could say that. So that was May the 12th. Okay, that was what was, all that energy was focused into and fueled at. And then, I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful energy we had around those days. With that Sun, Uranus, Jupiter, Sedna conjunction in Taurus. Actually, the initiator is this Venus here at the 16th degree of Taurus. Again, very, very powerful place. Again, in the exact 16th degree, the second half of Taurus, just starting. And this is, I just want to be sure I'm saying it right, this is the fourth 15 degree segment of confirmation. So we have the desire, potency, substantiation, that has already been definitely accomplished by Venus. We have gone through this phase. That was really all these flares. It was given substance that, and Venus in Taurus, I mean, it can't be much nicer, is at the culmination here, short before meeting the Sun, so still in the morning star phase, even though very close to the Sun, but it is a time of giving ourselves the luxury to enjoy life. That's basically what Venus in Taurus is. It is eating life, absorbing life's energy with a big spoon, really taking it in, really absorbing all the beauties, the colors, the sounds. This is Venus in Taurus, a true energy of enjoyment, and this now coming into confirmation. All in that second segment of Taurus, confirmation. I mean, I said that already beginning of the year, the conjunction of Uranus and Jupiter is the trademark of 2024. That's what we want to focus at, and that is about bringing this Uranian energy to flowering, to flourishing in the Taurian energy of Earth, or giving it roots, making it real, giving it substance and form. That's all about the real birth of this new reality, this new phase, collectively, evolutionary, we are moving into, with Sedna at 0 degrees, Gemini. It's just truly beautiful. Sedna bringing back all the knowledge, I mean, this is a vault, really. Sedna has been traveling through space for almost 12,000 years. Yes, that's long. That's how long it has been since it last was that close to the Sun. So Sedna has an enormous richness of understanding of long stretches of time, has a great memory bank, And that is all now being released into Gemini. Gemini, the sign naturally of Mercury, bringing it into the conversation space. It says, yeah, that's what Mercury is good at. Speaking about it, thinking about it, giving it expression, form, sound. The word is what Mercury brings into this reality, and the word at first is a thought, an idea, a vision, then we translate it into a word to share it. I mean, that is how it goes. These are symbols. Mercury represents symbols because that's the only way we really can communicate. We have to give things names. Okay, you see, this is all Mercury. Setna. And then, I mean, it couldn't be much more beautiful with this emerging moon, just 4 or 5 days after new moon. This is the energy of youth, of having all the juice, having just been born and grown up, and now after 3 days become visible as a slender sickle moon, now gaining prominence in the evening sky together with Vesta in Cancer. It is truly a beautiful bowing down to the most basic spiritual truth of feeding the fire in the hearth. That is what the symbol is. It's your wood stove in your house, which keeps you warm. And naturally, this is the transcended dimension of the physical warmth we are given, the very materially manifest form. So this is the higher dimension to this as well. That's the beauty of all these planet symbols. They have many different levels of expressing themselves. So in the higher spiritual dimension, and yes, Vesta is named after the priestess in the Roman temples, who were their whole only obligation was they lived in the temple, they made sure the eternal flame never is extinguished, the guardians of the fire, you could say, of the holy fire. So this is married with the energy of the moon, which is all about bringing things down to earth. That's what the moon really is representing. The moon is the one and only satellite Earth has, really, at least the most prominent for sure. So the moon is kind of the lens through which we are experiencing the universe. It brings it down, it transforms the energies down to a more corporal, denser level. So the moon is always doing this, it brings it down to earth. Spiritual energy really anchored here in Cancer, sign of nurturing, of giving it a real foundation, a home, you could say. Was a beautiful, beautiful chart. So this is now all just getting activated. And let me show you through a few more charts, which I just will go through quickly, but you can definitely always stop the video, take screenshots and look closer at them, because they all are super important. So this was May 12. On June 9, Mars entered Taurus, and look at the horizon axis. It's exactly the power axis of this chart. The vertical axis I call the power axis. That's where we are nourished from below and from above. It's kind of where we are pulling the energies into our spine, into our vertical axis. When you're perfectly in equilibrium, your weight disappears almost. That's the feeling. You're starting to levitate. That is where we are centering when we meditate. And the other axis is where we reach out to the world. And it's pretty simple in a way. That's the 4 quadrants. Left, where we receive, and right, where we pass on. But this is a process in motion. That's the horizon. So the power of this IJL lunar node conjunction got thrown into the actional plane as Mars entered Taurus, very, very clearly. This is obvious. I mean, and the moon again is in Cancer. You can't make that stuff up. That's one lunar cycle between these two. So that's how nature step by step makes things more substantial, builds one level above the other. That's why they all matter. And then, okay, then on the 19th of June, now I'm shifting gears here, okay, just bear with me here because this is all super important. Jupiter naturally entered Gemini, and I want to bring this really into context because it really matters. So that was on May the 25th. Jupiter entered Gemini. Will be in Gemini for a whole year. The sign Jupiter is in is always magnified. Jupiter brings all its heavy physicality into that reality expression of Gemini naturally, which is simply said again about communication and sharing and speaking it out, expressing it. Jupiter in Gemini is thought to be in fall actually. It's not really easy for Jupiter to it can get too fractalized. I guess that's probably the way to see it. It's distortions, disturbances can come in because there's too many activations happening at the same time. Interference is a big word here. So all that is the kind of the more difficult side of Jupiter in Gemini. However, if we master these challenges, then we become experts at integration, even under the most difficult circumstances, you could say. And that's what we are really experiencing this year. Everything now comes to the forefront of being expressed, being put into words. So it is really the age of what's the word again? Of bringing everything out into the open. I mean, you know what I mean. It's, the word is just missing from my mind. And okay, Jupiter now. Okay, let's get back to the subject. So if we look at the segments of the sign Gemini, as broken down by the hexagrams, again you can find the link to the exact breakdown in the description. thecosmoswithin.org on my site, I have it all broken down. So anyway, this is the first 5 and so much degrees pretty much between May the 25th and June the 19th. This first segment is ruled by hexagram 20, contemplation, which is really was a very important window in that sense of really sorting all these levels of interference out and looking at them, understanding them, bringing them into harmonization. That's definitely possible. On that day, the 19th, however, Jupiter moved on into the second segment, which is related to hexagram 16, which is enthusiasm. This is when the spring rolls in with its drum. It is thunder above Earth, a very activating energy, and this is on till let me get that right here, I wrote it down. Till July the 15th. 2 more weeks we have of that energy of enthusiasm. And this is especially important to mention that Jupiter eventually will turn retrograde at 21 something in early October, and then by February next year come back into that same segment again. Actually, when Mercury will be stationing in February 2025, it will be still within this hexagram's influence, enthusiasm. So this enthusiasm is not just being felt and experienced in this window, June 19th into July the 15th, but this will be the underlying energy for the whole next year's Jupiter's expressions. This is where it will be turning direct on. But this is a whole other story. It just shows that what we are expanding into in this present month will be laying the foundations for the whole 2025 journey then into Cancer, where it gets really anchored into reality, this concept of abundance, and that's really what Jupiter will be bringing in 2025. Jupiter in Cancer is very, very well placed. It is when we are able to truly enjoy the richness and the luxury and the beauty, the profundity of expressions, of feelings, of emotions. I mean, Cancer is such a profoundly what is the right word here? We are almost able to move within other physical bodies and to truly experience it from a very deep and profound level. Every emotion, every change and shift. Cancer is the anchor sign, really, where we feel at home. With Mercury and Venus here just coming out of conjunction 2-3 days prior. I mean, again, this is such a powerful and beautiful chart, and I mean the most important part, again, I didn't say yet, is that this axis, you see, it's now a little bit more than a degree, but this is still the same axis we have here, and which we have here. 3 times the same thing. And actually the galactic center is here 27 degrees and 11 minutes at the time. Every 72 years it moves a degree forward, so this is pretty steady and strong spot in the zodiac. And when the galactic center is so strongly activated, the ascendant, this is bigger than we can really understand this energy. It is maybe best described by this whole supercharged area in the galactic environment we have moved into as a whole solar system. It is that photon belt energy, you could call it, which gives direct access to the universal mind in a way. It really is able to, a direct line is forged, particularly also with Varda, which is all about bringing that light down from the celestial spheres. Those of you who are familiar with the Lord of the Rings, that's where this orbiter's name was being taken from. It's all about light. Yes, it's all about bringing in that light. And the sun is here too in this degree. I mean, in a perfect T-square to the black moon Neptune energy, which has been building ever since. I mean, this has been a very slow process of getting to the exact opposition point, as I say, which we just had. That was on Friday, 4 days ago. The black moon, where the moon would have been farthest away from Earth, would it have been in that exact spot. It is the direction of the moon's orbit, which is focused in that direction. Again, the deepest pit in the ocean. And this is, I would say, when there's a full understanding of the shadow is possible in this moment, when it's a symbiosis which happens when an aspect is exact. The two forces merge into each other. So that Neptunian complexity of what I said before, of built up stories and insights over 15 years, of that connection with the other world. That's literally what Neptune is in a nutshell. It is the shell of our solar system. It's the final big planet. There's no question that it is the final big planet. If there were another planet of that size, it would have long been discovered. I mean, Neptune is in the range of 30,000 kilometers in diameter, versus Pluto, which is less than 2,000. So it just shows you really Neptune is kind of the guardian, double mirror, the eggshell. So this is really a culmination point in history we're at. There's no question. Neptune concluding its 165 years of traveling through the zodiac, condensing it, compressing it all into this final moment, but not quite taking the last few steps onto the summit, but then turning back down, retracing its steps, revisiting the former hexagram 36. Right now it is in that really beautiful phase of new beginnings. Again, if we overlay the 64 hexagrams, 25, which is the one which rules spring equinox, and it starts at 28:15. This is the very special thing. And I mean, go and look into your charts. If you have planets in these final 2 degrees of mutable signs, then they are already in that new phase, 28:15 and past. So that's why on April the 10th, actually, that was just 2 days after the big solar eclipse, Neptune entered that new phase, hexagram 25, innocence, coming out of the darkening of the light where it was for the last roughly 3-4 years. Very, very telling darkening of the light, all the confusion and deception we have been experiencing lately. So this has changed on a fundamental level on April the 10th. Yes, we will eventually go back into it a little bit, as I said. But for now, Neptune is in a very, very clear and transparent space. And lining up with the black moon is literally pulling all these secrets, all these repressed and pushed away and hard to fathom realities into the open. With the moon in Aries, yes, there is intention to do it. At the North Node, the moon actually between the North Node and Neptune, it couldn't be much more beautiful. This really, the moon is enabling, giving it its physical substance, its form, bringing it out into the open. The lunar nodes in a potent phase, hexagram 21, which is biting through. So we are really biting through obstacles, and in the last week alone was just epic. Let me just share here a few things which just from what is going on in the world right now. So just first thinking of the United States, of what just has just manifested itself all of a sudden. This senile person has been pulled into the open. Everybody now knows it. It's no more a secret. I guess, this is just one aspect of it. Neptune and the black moon. A very, very beautiful expression of it, though, and makes so much sense. It is kind of that final revelation which couldn't be really held back any longer. We had a few more really interesting things. Julian Assange regaining his freedom back after more than 5 years in jail. And this was the most sad story, because all he was revealing crimes. Yes, that's what it was. Which they didn't want to acknowledge. So this has been a huge step in the right direction. It happened on 24th of June. Then, in France they just had elections, and I guess it's a very typical result, representing again probably the situation everywhere. Well, you go and read the news. You probably will find what I want to say. I don't go into much more details. I want to be careful with what I say. I received a I'm on the email list from the people of Maui. They have put together a long, extensive report. I got it emailed a few weeks ago. I'm on that mailing list. All first-hand experiences, testimonials of people who lived there, how they experienced that whole situation. Has nothing to do with conspiracy theory or something like that. This is boots on the ground information, and it is very condemning. I said it already back then, last August the 8th, that was powerful day they chose again to manifest some of these terrible evil acts. Anyway, the repercussions are growing, I would say hyperbolically. That's really this was the fuel of what gets people going, of all the experiences and deceptions which we have been experiencing the last 4-5 years. So much has come into consciousness of the collective. Yes, and then on the 29th, let's look at this chart for a moment, because this is laying the foundations for that next 9-month period. As I said, every 9 months the focal point of the lunar orbit changes 30 degrees into a new sign. 12 times 9 months is 9 years. There's a number 9, the moon. You see, everything makes sense. And every 9 days approximately it moves into a new degree. Anyway, the black moon entered Libra, and the moon now in between the North Node and Chiron. Again, very, very meaningful. Making the connection from the healer's perspective, the ones who dismantles, brings it into the light of day, because this is all there's needed. We have to uncover things so the sun can come in, and the sun heals. That's what a good physician does. He cleans the wound out, and yes, this is a painful process, and then all we need is to expose it to nature's powers. Nature is omnipotent, omnipresent. Nature is infinite. That's where really the joke comes in. I mean, there's all this attempt of artificial energies to hijack nature. I guess in a simple way say that's what we're experiencing. They call it artificial intelligence. I rather would call it artificial stupidity, really, because it is really not intelligent. Just this, by the way, think about that. Because it's not a creative thinking process. All it can pick pieces of information from everywhere and assemble it in new ways. But it's not really able to go into a place where it's never been before. And then you just can pull its plug, and if it's not fed with natural energy anymore. It's not functioning. It's very simple. Just pull the plug. And that's where we're getting to. Literally. That's what eventually will happen. There's no question. And I just looked this before I did this recording, had a quick glance at the next solar eclipse of October the 2nd. It really looks like, and I just want to give you this as a short preview, it looks like the months following October the 2nd's next solar eclipse will be the time when the plug is pulled. Take it or leave it, whatever you want to do with it. That's my 2 cents. This is about to happen, not immediately. We're still building up to this moment. We're still becoming smarter and preparing. That's really what it is. We are maybe not fully aware of how well we have progressed on that path of preparation for something. We do not know what we are really dealing with, but it is all moving in the right direction. And these few charts I'm sharing with you are all exactly pointing in that focal point. You see, when the moon entered Libra, who is here at the helm of the chart? Miss Setna, sorry. It's a feminine force, and I bow to this powerful archetype within reality. Setna represents, which is, she is the goddess of the deep sea. She is the deity of the mammals, and the fish, and the dolphins, and the whales, and her kingdom, her queendom, I guess I should say, is the corals and the deep seas with all the many mysteries. It's beautiful that this is here at the helm of this chart, at the power point where we receive energy from the above, as I said. In this, I mean, you can't make this up again. I mean, I said it many times. This is really in a long time span. This is I guess the most basic anchor point of the new reality we are moving into, is this trine between Setna and Pluto, and bringing those two forces into perfect balance. Pluto is change in the most radical way. It is slinging us from one extreme to another. That is kind of that Plutonic force of constant change, and everything is in motion. There's an enormous power there hiding. And then there's Setna, giving it that stability of a deep knowing of a long span of time. We come to this inner serenity of contemplation, and that's actually the hexagram Setna is now in. As I said before, those first 5-6 degrees contemplation. Yes, I could go on and on. I don't want to annoy you. One more thing I should mention though, and I will make a special video about that. There is this where do I get the best overview of it? Okay. So there's a supernova expected to blow up very, very soon, or the time frame they gave was April till September. Yes, here it is. So this is a binary star about 6,000 light years away of a red dwarf, a brown dwarf, and a red supergiant. The brown dwarf is rotating about this around the supergiant and pulling in plasma for about 80 years at a time, and then at a certain moment it blows up into a supernova. This is a regular occurrence, and this spot here close to this constellation of the Corona Borealis, I like that again as a symbolic deeper insight into the workings of this supernova. The corona is the crown, gives us the crown. We came from something very much with corona to do 3 years ago. I guess we are now entering the higher reality of that, to truly transcend it into a higher dimension. This spot in the zodiac, you won't believe, is, I did the conversion here, let me see. So this is the celestial coordinates, and I transformed them, conversed them into zodiacal longitude 20 degrees and 6 minutes in Scorpio, that is, and 45 degrees latitude. That means it's about half distance between the equator and the polar star. 20 degrees and 6 minutes Scorpio. That is where Pallas is right now. Pretty close. So if, and it will, I mean, this supernova will go off, will create a new star in the sky, new bright star in that area. It will be a sensation naturally when it's happening then finally, but it could happen within the next few weeks. That's actually my prediction. As Pallas, representing mental powers, and again it's a goddess energy, so it's the ability to see patterns. It is kind of a higher dimension of Mercury. Mercury is just giving us the information, the facts, whatnot, the words, and then comes an integrative process of seeing patterns, how things are correlated, how they work together as a system. Pallas is related to arts and science, which is the creative endeavor of extracting information from nature. So all of that will be extremely magnified by this supernova at this spot in the zodiac. I mean, it's obvious again, it's just again magical timing, just telling you these present weeks are most precious. Make best use of them. Okay, then Saturn turned direct just a few hours later. You see the black moon enters Libra at 9:20 a.m. 7:06 p.m. Saturn turned retrograde, and by now the moon is pretty exactly where the solar eclipse of April the 8th was at 1923. That was Sun and Moon merging on April 20 on April the 8th, sorry. So the moon reactivating that eclipse energy, and very, very close to Chiron and Aries and Hygeia. This is a big stellium, and the moon is just starting to nourish these three, giving them substance. First of all, it's Chiron approaching Aries, so this healer, this physician is becoming really vocal and wanting to express its insights of reality regardless of consequences. That's where Aries comes in. Great persistence. So again, a feminine force, throwing in the golden apple of discord, challenging reality in search of truth. And the final recipient of that energy, who could it be? Hygeia again, where we started our journey with our May 12th chart of super activating that Hygeia. But that, then and there, you see it was at 15:01. By now it has reached 28:33, soon to enter Taurus, and this will be the next actually chapter starting just around the corner, about a week away. Another video on that, because there's a whole series of powerful events unfolding between the 5th and the 7th roughly of July. Okay, just shortly, that was when Neptune finally exactly was standing still. The 22nd degree of Gemini here at the focal point of power. Jupiter will come to a halt at 21 degrees and 20 minutes in Gemini on October the 9th. So it is really warming up the degree here, and that moment when Jupiter will turn retrograde on the 9th of October will really build on the shoulders of this Neptune stationary chart. I mean, Neptune will be moving backwards all the way into December the 7th. So it is a 5-month period roughly we're looking at here being initiated. Mercury here at 2950 in Cancer, in a perfect trine, a perfect sextile to the black moon over the edge of the sign. And then naturally also sextile to the moon. The moon here just past Uranus. Okay, this is really throwing lightning bolts now. This is strongly activating, triggering that deeper layer of wisdom, of knowledge, of memory into the open. Uranus is starting to interact here. I've said now this will be building up process over the next few years, actually 27 7 around, I guess this will be culminating, literally pulling all that information into the open, electrifying that vault, that complexity of Setna's knowledge, information. Anyway, not even speaking of these two, un Kundima, that one actually is a really interesting agency here of insight. It adds into this chart. Kundima is the ability to allow something to be possible, even though one comes from the opposite side. So it is that openness of readiness to investigate regardless of my personal beliefs or whatever my life is built on. I'm able to put everything at stake in a way and let truth do its job, let my work of lining up evidence lay out the trail to where I will then reorient myself, give myself the freedom to let go of what is outlived and no more necessary. Very, very important energy. This is, and Huya on the other side. Huya is named after a Venezuelan rain and winter god, and it's the ability to reflect on the past, to go back, revisit and resolve issues by understanding, bringing the understanding from our present perspective, going back, revisiting. It is a process of similar to going to a psychotherapist or going through a therapy, through a vision quest, all of that. So this is really a beautiful pair of energies which comes in through the back door in a way. Yes, again, a really, really powerful chart. This is, again, as I say, we're really laying the foundation for the big shift to manifest anywhere between October and next March. This will be really the window where things will totally be turned upside down, tables turned, whatnot. Interesting, the heliocentric chart of this Neptune station shows heliocentric Mercury in opposition to heliocentric Neptune. Intuition. Telepathy. Knowing without a logical explanation. And the black moon is here, you remember. Let's just go back. You see here in the geocentric perspective. So this is really as good as it can get. The moon, the Mercury resonates with that collective shadow point in a beautiful way. It's kind of trailing, cleaning up the path behind the shadow in a way. Anyway, I'm leaving it at that. Just a very, very quick preview into the next chapter, which will be when Earth will be Earth will be farthest away from the Sun, which is Earth at its aphelion. Again, it's the same principle. Earth moves around the Sun in a slight ellipse. In summer, around July the 5th, it is farthest away from the Sun, and then January the 3rd around it is closest. So what really springs into eye again, jumps into eye, and I quickly also show you where I get this information from. It's all ready and at here on the net. So you just Google for Earth perihelion, aphelion, and you get the exact times for every year. So here we have July the 5th, 2024 at 5:06 a.m. 5:06 a.m. Greenwich Universal Time. And yes, I really want to show you this quickly. That's why I wanted to give you this preview. So as what I was saying before, this is the center of a whole new beginning. We are laying really the foundations. Also in the last days of the Mayan calendar, as I said, the new round starts on July the 8th, right? With Wanimish, the red magnetic dragon. Up to then we're finishing, we're polishing, we're literally building a foundation for some really big exchange to manifest. Interesting is that the actual axis is in the new signs, in the cardinal 0012 Aries, 0012 Libra. This is really the foundation of a new direction of evolution. So literally, probably I could narrow it down between July 5 and January the 3rd. This is the window where things will be shift in a whole new direction. Just a quick rollback here. That was on January the 3rd. I really want rushing through this Chiron here, exactly at the 7th house cusp. That same 16th degree of Aries where Hygeia and the lunar nodes met on May the 12th, you remember. And it so happens that this also was the axis of the solar eclipse at its maximum for Greenwich, UK. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I really just wanted to show you how these things are so special in our present times. There's so many synchronicities, more than by average. So it is, and we can feel it. It is intense. It is beautiful. It is deep. It is difficult at times, but it is definitely worth being alive. Love you all, and please give it a like or share it even. Thank you for being here.